I never meant to end up in a small town. I was just passing through. I was in my mid-20s and performing with a reggae band that had gained mild success on the charts. Before that, I'd spent about 6 years living in Toronto. This was in the mid-90s, when bar bands were a more prominent source of Canadian entertainment. The industry was thriving. I could make money playing music, and when I wasn't playing, I'd work on commercial sets as a production assistant. But I still felt I had no focus, no direction, no real identity as an artist. The band just finished about a 6-month tour across Canada. In my absence, my girlfriend fell in love, so in no real rush to get back to Toronto, I decided to spend some time with my mom and her husband, my new stepfather, in Peterborough. They had just moved there, and I needed a place to crash, so why not? Pretty soon I met the locals, musicians who were electricians, school teachers, painters, songwriters. Within 2 days, I somehow managed to get a slot in the Peterborough Folk Festival. Next thing I know, I'm performing beside Fred Eaglesmith, Willie P. Bennett, bands like Prairie Oyster, Canadian artists who have been compared to other greats as Burton Cummings, Gordon Lightfoot. It was thrilling to be a part of it all, to see all this talent in one spot, all this talent, a local, within the region, all of these artists. Familiar faces I see, but I'm meeting them for the first time. Only read about them in Canadian musician magazines or, trying to network. So as the scheduled performance part of the evening drew to an end, the performers gathered around a fire and voices bellowed with stories and songs. Songs about where we've been, stories about where they're headed. The next day, early afternoon, I'm lying in bed. Though the sun was shining, I had no motivation to get up. I was in one of those moods. What do I do next? Where's my life headed? How do I fit in the grand scheme of things? How do I get rid of this hangover? It was then what seemed like moments after I heard a sort of distant pounding coming from the window. It was like distant thunder, but it was too constant in its pulse and the sky was blue. I got out of my bed, fully opened the window and stuck my head out. There were voices, drumming, drummers and voices. It filled the sky. I was later told there was a group of Mohawks drumming at a powwow on Armour Hill. From that height, the sound echoed and filled the sky. I can't explain the stir it caused within me. I was like a magnet going to the window. It was like a calling, a confirmation, a connection. Later that same day, my mother told me she was taking me to see some outdoor theater. This is where the hologram of Fourth Light Theater comes up here or something. Is this? Okay, but it happened. Yes, there was outdoor theater, and it was Fourth Line. With very little enthusiasm, I sat back. I got in the back seat of the car as we drove out to the country. Where is she taking me? We pulled into this long dirt road with a house perched on a small hill. Past the house, there was a barn. I was intrigued. What lay behind that barn? Where is she taking me? As I waited to go into the theater, I chatted with a fellow musician I met the night before at the festival. We stood under a shady tree and chatted about music, about the new songs we have discovered from the fire the night before. And we waited. Finally filed in, the audience. We sat on plastic chairs, facing just a pond and rolling hills. No stage. I was very intrigued. Then the show began with an actor crawling out of a pond. Am I right? An actor crawling out of... Until he got hurt. He broke his arm. He dislocated his arm. I heard about that. But that was... Yeah. You're insured, right?
Oh, yeah, heavily.
An actor coming out of a pond. I was sold, immediately drawn in. I was connected. That was the summer of 1999. I've been living in a small town since. I guess you could say these events, that weekend, really inspired me In just a short time, my experience in a rural environment helped me find myself. I felt locked in. All my senses were now active. In Toronto, I was easily influenced by my surroundings. Advertisements, want ads, billboard charts, trends, products, fads, technological trinkets. It's all weighing me down. I was drowning from all the chattering. Other voices that spoke so loud I could no longer hear the story being told, like the Mohawks drumming on the hill. A gathering of one voice, celebrating their heritage, telling a story that reveals their individuality as a community. I had no choice but to listen, to learn more, like the gathering of musicians after a festival, old friends becoming new friends again. We share common interests through song and stories. Like the actor crawling out of the pond, I was reminded of art being found in the most unsuspected places at the most unexpected time. Our landscape is a clear canvas, and with great simplicity, we can create fantastic art with the broadest strokes. It is these connections with our surroundings that help build an artistic community and remind us of our individuality. But when we talk about art, what do we mean? Well, we can call it what it is, an application of skill, imagination. But I also like to think of it as a motion of the heart. It was surprising to me to find so much movement in a small town, so much motion. It's naive to think that only laborers, farmers, and clerks live in small towns. There's a desire for each one of us to discover something new about us. And through that discovery, we reveal stories, pictures, unravel mysteries. But not only our own mysteries, but our mother, father, neighbor down the street. It connects to us, one another in ways we never knew possible. It sneaks up on us, like an old photograph or a sad song. Small communities can promote habitual and routinized behavior. It is true. It's easy to lapse into thinking and behavior which breeds sameness. I don't know, is that a word, sameness? I'm going to use it. A father and a son may spend years going to hockey every Monday night. The father coaches and cheers from the sideline while the son skates frantically. Let's say one day the son decides to leave the stick in the closet and surprise his father with an afternoon of sculpturing or basket weaving at their community center. All of a sudden, they have stepped outside of their routinized lifestyle and a whole new relationship has been discovered. How they perceive each other may change completely. Who do they meet at the community center? Could it turn out that the guy driving the Zamboni is their instructor for sculpting? Connection is made. And those that decide to be individuals are safe. Artists as individuals are safe in their community. Art by its very nature promotes difference. Opportunities to see things differently and thus to think differently. Therefore, art in small communities, possibly events organized around art objects, is a way to undercut sameness. If small communities are affected by routine and art can fight that routine, then small communities need art if they wish to offer diversity. Within all of us, there's a desire to know more. Not only about our surroundings, but know more about the world beyond our grasp, the unraveling of what is to become. We can use art as a form of communication to inform us of today's culture. It informs us of how uninformed we are on a global scale, or how familiar our needs are to a stranger on the side of the world. Art communicates with us. It creates relationships just by being. The sheer existence and presence alone with art can ripple through an entire community quite quickly, quicker than a huge metropolitan area. It's a close network of great minds. It's a small town that we are given the access to explore and create new ideas, more so perhaps in larger urban spaces. By creating art in a small town, we're able to hear opinions from a closer network of friends who allow more personal dialogue about the work in progress, allowing the artist to feel more at ease with the process or possibly challenged because of the strong influence of his or her peers. Either way, the potential to create meaningful art is supported within the community. Since calling Peterborough home, I have been pretty fortunate to be able to write and perform historical fictional plays and travel the country with my work. reminds me I have to update my bio because I don't say that in the bio. I'm going to write that down. So a few years ago, I was commissioned to write a play about William King, the British abolitionist who freed his slaves and found freedom in Buxton, Ontario, by way of the Underground Railroad. This was in the 1840s, around there. It was because of William King and others like him at the time, Buxton became the first black settlement in Canada. I was fortunate to have the play performed at the church William King built in Buxton. The church was filled with locals, blacks and whites, more whites than blacks, but anyways. Neighbors, distant cousins. After the performance, an older man in his 50s came up to me and said, "That was real good. He ain't never seen a play before." He ain't ever seen a play before. I was amazed, shocked. But it was exciting. What a connection we both experienced. Here is a man, a farmer, living in a community, born in his community that holds so many stories, so many secrets and accomplishments he had never been informed or read about until he came to see my little play in his community. Art can inform us and educate us in so many ways. It's thrilling. We've been doing it for centuries. I mean, kids become artists as soon as they learn how to hold a crayon. They begin drawing on the kitchen walls and inscribe petroglyphs and images so far out we can't even comprehend it. But yet somehow we're provoked. What are you feeling? What's wrong? You got a toothache? Talk to me. Then they start talking and they make up stories. You no longer know what to believe. It takes art to do that. We can't lose that. It's important to maintain art in a community. Without it, we have very little space to explore. Our habitual lifestyle will numb us and we'll have no time to make beautiful mistakes. We'll have no time for laughter, fun. We work to make money. I have to remind myself that. We work to make money. We don't work to have fun. Not while we're working. At the end of the day, when we finish our 9 to 5, we're tired because we've been working, not because we've been having fun. At the end of the day, I think we're all artists, though. We all have a story to tell, and we all have some creative skill, some way of making fun. I wonder what would happen if we just stopped going to work, quit everything we thought we had to do, and just did what inspires us or challenges us. Wouldn't we all become artists? It's important for our younger generation to know that we recognize their individualism. And in a community, we can really make that noticeable for our youth, support their needs, their desires. We reward ourselves by knowing more about ourselves. We're discovering what we know very little about our neighbor and need to know more. By supporting and maintaining art in a small community, we can overcome economic hardships. It's been proven. Yes, when money gets tight, the first thing to let go of is the arts. I'm not going to pretend to say I have any answers to that, but I would suspect that if we kept our community thriving with the arts, and I mean supporting all arts, then as a consumer, we can challenge the other companies in big cities that gain from overpriced ticket sales. The reason for overpriced ticket sales is because of the high quality of work, whether it's theater, dance, or music, supply and demand. But these artists that are working in the big cities, they come from small communities. That's how our culture is formed. The despair of small communities. That's where great art sometimes comes from. So we as artists leave our community because we don't get the proper financial backing. So they have to take their work elsewhere. Then there's other mouths to feed. They start losing control of the work, and then other people become involved in order to sell tickets. More people to pay, again. But artists are smart. We have to be. We're good to have around because we're jacks of all trades. It's kind of funny, but I mean, talk about being multi-talented. I sort of feel I have to in order to get my hands, to do what I love. It's very difficult. But I think the support that we get as a community, and I am living proof of that through the community, we can gain, we can connect, we'll keep maintaining our individualism. And by that, our art becomes stronger, more unique. It provokes. We then attract outsiders, bring the audience to us. And pretty soon the big boys will be forced to lower ticket sales because the price of our community increases, the value increases. There's no middleman, it comes directly to us. But enough about making it economically work for us. It will work. That goes without saying. The heart of a community is stronger than what we realize. And I think in order for us to maintain that work, we have to stay connected and be fully aware. Thank you very much.